welcome back to my channel. It's day 17 or 18 since I started doing this, but it's day 10 I guess from my relapse, so I'm gonna just start counting it as day 10. I went to my first NA meeting yesterday and I've been going to something called Smart Recovery, which is an online meeting that's not religion based, and it's based on the idea that you have control over your addiction, whereas NA, Narcotics Anonymous, is giving into the higher power and saying to yourself that you have no control and you are powerless over your addiction, which I don't think is true for me and for many people. But the mixture of the two groups together, there's pros and cons of both and things I prefer about both of them actually, which I'm surprised at because I thought Narcotics Anonymous was just religion based bullshit really, where it was all I've got no control, God please save me, and it really wasn't like that at all. It didn't feel like that for me. So I got my newcomer's chip, which I'm proud of, I guess. I'm in so much physical pain and my stomach is bleeding. If I eat, my intestines are gonna fall out, literally. That's what happens to my body. But I can't go to hospital because it's my eating disorder that made me binge because of not being on heroin for the pain. So they'll take that and say, oh, that means you can eat, and then they'll stop the forceps shakes, which is what I survive off. So it could really mess me up if I go to hospital. And I find the only thing that works as well as heroin for the pain and my stomach conditions is complete water fasting, so not eating for about 5 to 6 days minimum, which is obviously really hard and really dangerous because it's not medically supervised and you're just not eating for weeks, and that's not a long-term solution, but that's all I can think of doing right now, and it's the only thing that's worked for me in the past when I've had to be sober. I think I might be dehydrated because of the stomach problems right now and the toilet problems that that's causing. My eyes are really puffy, my face is super puffy, and my hands feel swollen as well, which is really odd. And even sitting down like this isn't taking the pain away, and to do the fast, for it to work for me, I have to not take my medication for 3 to 4 days so that I can take bowel prep medication, which completely empties you out for surgery. But if I take that after 3 or 4 days of fasting, it just empties my stomach, and that along with the fasting, it just gives my digestive system a complete restart button, and I'm able to start again and not be in as much pain and sick or bleeding, gastric bleeding. My intestines have been bleeding nearly a week now, I guess. It's just really fucking bad. It hurts so much. It's the thing that made me do heroin in the first place, and it wasn't to cope with emotional pain, it was to deal with the physical pain. And do you know what? It served me very well for the 2 years that I was using functionally and being very strict with myself, but it got out of hand because I couldn't control that. So I still think you can be a functional heroin user, and I do believe it should be used for medication for pain in cases like mine, but it needs to be regulated and legalised for that to happen, so that you can't just go off the rails and take it every single day, which is what's got me in this situation. But honestly, this pain is so much worse than heroin or being in withdrawal from that. Like, I feel like my family and friends that I'm giving up for, it better be fucking worth it. Like, I can't walk, eat or sleep, anything, and I'm shitting blood, and it hurts so much from the middle of my chest down to my pelvis, and I can't cope with this pain, and I can't walk, and I can't even go out in my wheelchair. I'm in so much pain, and if this is what it's going to be like every day, then no fucking way am I going to stay clean. I have to be controlled with it. I'm going to have to go back on it if this fasting doesn't work. But it's such an unnatural thing to just not eat for a few weeks when your stomach's fine. It's just your intestines that are broken. So like, I'm just gonna feel as hungry as any of you lot would watching this, anyone with a healthy body who's hungry and just didn't eat for a week or two. But it's the only thing that works other than the heroin, so I'm gonna have to try it. If I make it to about 2 weeks of not eating, or even 1 week with the bowel prep medication after day 5, let's say, I can go to hospital and they can give me IV nutrients, and I can stay in till the bleeding stops on IV nutrients and not have to eat and not be in pain and not be malnourished either. But this first week or two I have to do by myself, and I have to fast as long as I possibly can, because if I go into hospital now, they are going to blame it all on the fact that I've eaten food, and I can't go through all that pain for that. So wish me luck. It's going to be day 1 water fasting. It's worth a try. I have to try. I think the hardest thing with water fasting as well is my family and friends worry about me much more when I'm not eating for a few weeks than when I'm on heroin for the odd day to get out of this pain. But I know myself that I can't control that at the moment, so I have to not eat. I have to stick to this water fast, or I can't be here. I can't live in this much pain. No fucking way. I just want to be well enough to be able to go out in my wheelchair again, and to sit up in bed without being in this much agony. So, wish me luck. The Narcotics Anonymous meeting was actually really helpful. It was a bit overwhelming because you turn up and everyone's just kind of hugging you, and it's very overwhelming, but it was pretty much exactly what I thought it would be, except for not as shit, basically. From what I've seen and heard online, and from other people who have been or heard of the Narcotics Anonymous meetings, it's very much like you turn up and everyone's hugging, and every time they say their name, they have to say, "I'm an addict," and then everyone repeats, like, just, I don't know, it's just a bit weird, a bit cult-like. But I actually much preferred it to the online recovery meetings I'd been doing that were based on tools and steps for you to do to keep yourself clean. And there's things I like about both of them and dislike about both of them, but I think the two treatment types together will really help me. I don't believe in any religious god as such, but there's definitely something more powerful than us out there, and I call upon my angels when I need something, and it always seems to work. I do believe in signs as well, like getting a sign from the universe that something's a good idea or a bad idea. And this meeting, where it's held in person, is so close to my house. Over a year I've been wanting to go to this meeting, and the closest I've got to going is walking past it as they're either just starting or finishing, and just kind of trying to see if I can get the courage to go past the car park and into the building and see everybody. And I've had kind of stares of the people from this meeting walking past before. It's like maybe they knew that I was debating going or not, but I just bottled it and ran off. But yesterday, the first person I saw outside the building, who I would not have gone in if I had not spoke to this person, and I said, is there a meeting on today? Like, shitting myself. I was on the phone to my friend saying, "Oh my god, please don't leave me, please stay on the phone until I'm in there. If it's on, oh my god," everything's going through my head, like, am I at the right place? And if I am at the right place, is it going to be really unwelcoming or over-welcoming, like too much? And will I belong there? Because every time I go to any meetings, there's no one like me. There's no one my age who still keeps up with their appearances and their whole life doesn't fall apart when they do heroin. It's like I still manage to keep my bills going, my house. I'll never pick drugs over rent or gas or electric, and I never find anybody else like that. But when I turned up, the first person I spoke to outside, I said, "Is this a meeting?" And he's like, "Yeah, are you new? Is this your first meeting? Oh, well done for coming." He told me his name and his ethnicity. He didn't say his ethnicity, but he had an accent and his name. And his name and accent were exactly the same as the person who I got on heroin with, and always wanted this person to be at my first meeting. He's always said he'd go to my first meeting. And it's like when I turned up, the very first person I spoke to before I even got inside had the exact same name and came from the exact same country. It was just crazy that is the first person I speak to. It felt like my person with that name was there with me, and I wouldn't have been able to get in through the doors without speaking to that man. That was really crazy. It was like, if that's not a sign, I don't know what is. It's quite nice having the key rings, because it's something to show your family, not just to prove that you've been, but just say, look, I am trying. My family are not very religious at all. If anything, kind of, it's a load of shit, why are you going to that? But I think it pleased them that I went. I was so anxious when I first got in there. I sat right by the door. I was sat closest chair to the door, furthest away from everybody else. And I was staring at the door the whole time, judging, like, how fast can I make it out of this door? And how far away is the entrance from this room if I need to go? I wasn't expecting them to shut the door. I don't know why it's such a stupid thing, but with my kind of autistic and very mental health brain, I need a lot of preparation mentally before I can go and do something at a new place with new people on my own. I never do that. It was just that it was an emergency situation and I needed to be at this meeting. I had prepared for myself to be in a room sat in a circle of chairs with lots of people, and to even say I'm an addict. But I hadn't prepared myself for being locked into the room. Like, the door was shut, like, shit, I can't just get out. I'd have to ask someone to open that door. I felt really claustrophobic and scared, and I wanted to ask, like, can we leave that door open a little bit? Like, I can't deal with being locked in any rooms. But then everybody else would be talking with the door open. I don't think that would even be allowed. And that would scream to everyone, she's been locked in a room, something's happened to that girl. And then, I don't know, it's just like a judgment, or would have made me look like I wasn't mentally fit to be there or prepared yet. And I don't think I was, to be honest. And I just cried the whole first, like, 20 minutes. I was just rocking and tapping in my chair, like, looking at the floor. I had my sunglasses on, even though they turned all the lights out and put one candle on in the centre of the room. And I was crying before anyone even started talking. I was thinking to myself, like, fuck now, like, why are you crying, having a panic attack? Like, how am I crying already? Like, no one's even started talking about how shit their life is yet because of their drug. And I'm still yet to meet anybody that's completely like me, in the sense that they just used for physical pain, and if they controlled it, it worked well for them. I'm yet to find anybody who's used it for physical pain that's at a drug meeting, I guess, because the ones using it for physical pain, either that it's working so well that they're not coming to meetings, but obviously I don't think that's the case. I think it's that it's so frowned upon in society that anyone who does need it for physical pain, like me, is either too afraid to go to a meeting, or they're too afraid to use the heroin, and they just end up committing suicide instead to be out of the pain, which is horrible. And that happens. I've witnessed it. Also, I felt really anxious and wanting to go at the meeting when it came time to, like, what I pictured it, like, holding hands, singing fucking Kumbaya, and that's no disrespect to, like, Christianity, but just in a nutshell, that's what you picture, isn't it? That's what most people picture. You picture a load of people going, oh, I'm an addict, I'm powerless, poor me, God please save me, I'm not going to do anything myself though. And then holding hands and hugging a lot. And it really wasn't like that. There was one prayer circle, I guess. I like the fact that they didn't say you have to pray to, like, the Christian God or any particular religion. It doesn't matter if your God's he or her or a they. Whoever that is, let's all hold hands and just ask them for help. And because I walk with a walking stick, I wanted to hold hands with the people both sides of me to be polite. I didn't want to break the circle, but because I was walking with my stick up until getting into this circle in the middle of the room, I was the last person to hold hands and connect the circle. And because it was kind of rushed, I'd, like, put my stick up against the wall, and then I quickly just grabbed hands with the two people who were stood next to me. One of them was a woman, which I'm obviously fine with, it's not very traumatic, but the other person was male, and because I was so rushed getting into the circle, I kind of just held my hand out, and where I'd, like, grabbed hands, I was the last person to connect that circle, but where it was kind of rushed, he'd grabbed my wrist and not my hand. So, but then everybody had started praying, and I didn't want to break the circle to readjust whilst they'd started praying, because that's just really disrespectful on my part. So I had to hold hands this whole prayer circle, thinking, don't have a panic attack, don't react. Like, they don't mean it in a bad way, you know? It's just a hand, it's just somebody holding a hand, that's it. And obviously wrist, it's quite traumatic, because no matter how strong you are, when someone's got your wrist, like, you're fucked. So that was quite triggering, but I tried to ignore it, and I was like, it'll be over in a minute, we'll sit down in a minute. And I also didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable or upset like he'd upset me, so yeah, that was fun. But I dealt with it, and the circle was over after a few minutes of that, and I stopped having panic attacks sort of by the end. But no one seemed to walk out whilst other people were talking, because I thought it was very much, you can go whenever you've had enough. So I thought there'd be people walking in and out for some of it, but there wasn't. So anytime I was in so much pain, like I needed to leave, or my anxiety was that bad and I was crying under my sunglasses, just not being able to breathe, I didn't want to walk out, because it was halfway through somebody sharing their life stories, and it's obviously really meaningful and important to them, and I didn't want to be really disrespectful and rude, but this meeting went on for like an hour and a half, 90 minutes, and I cannot sit down for that long, so I started standing up instead of sitting down to just break up my muscles and break up the pain a little bit. But obviously the first time I did that made everyone kind of stare at me as if I was either going to walk out or like wanted to say something, like cutting somebody else's conversation up. So yeah, I felt like everyone was staring at me. But by the second, third, fourth time I'd gone from sitting to standing to just break up my pain for a little bit, I felt like people had got used to that and had stopped staring at me. I hugged so many people that I don't know. And obviously we've got a new COVID variant out. I was shocked that they did that, but also kind of happy at the same time. And I believe in COVID. Whatever the reasons are it's come out, there is obviously a virus that's going around killing people, and that's horrible. But I'm glad that people are still hugging and holding hands and shit, because mental health is more important, I think, to look after than COVID, because you will end up dying from your mental health. And there's been so many mental health deaths throughout the pandemic, which is awful, because it's like you isolated them so that they wouldn't catch COVID, but then they died from isolation anyway. I think that's going to be it for now. I'm going to my parents later. I actually feel in a lot less pain for talking and not thinking about it for a while. I'm sticking to this fast. I hope my stomach stops bleeding in a few days, but even if it takes a few weeks, I'm going to be fasting now. So wish me luck, and I will catch up with you in a couple hours, I guess. We'll try and do more videos, but now that my addiction's kind of out of that temperamental beginning period, I don't feel the need to talk about that every single day. But for anyone else who's struggling, do what works for you. There'll be more tip videos coming in once I learn more tips, and I would like to do a full review of the Narcotics Anonymous meeting and stuff, because it's not all bad, and I thought it was going to be really bad, and it was so much more helpful than I thought it would be, and I'm really shocked at that. I'm really surprised, actually, so I'd like to do a video on that. But thanks for checking out my channel and being part of my recovery journey. I hope everyone's having a good day. Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's day 19 since I started my recovery journey, and it's day 11 since my lapse of using on day 8. So it's day 19 of my recovery journey, but day 11 of being completely clean, which I'm so happy about. I'm back at my parents' house and my mental health is doing a lot better, but my physical health is really bad. So my stomach's been bleeding over a week now. I haven't eaten since Friday as I'm trying to fast. I stuck to my fast, which is great. And the pain is easing up. It's gone down from a 9 out of 10 to about 6, which is really good. So I'm gonna continue fasting for as long as I can, then go to hospital once my levels start dropping, like my sugar levels and my electrolytes and stuff, to hopefully get some IV nutrition to hopefully make me feel better so I don't feel so rough. I'm planning on going at least a week, but the most I've ever made it to with water fasting is day 5. So I'll be happy if I reach day 7, to be honest, but I'm going to try and go for at least 2 weeks and see if it makes my stomach better, because now that I'm off heroin, this really is the only other thing that I can try to fix my pain and my stomach problems. I had quite a nice day today. I've still been feeling very sick, very, very sick and poorly and in pain. But I helped my nan put up Christmas decorations today, and she's very ill, so every year we get with her is a complete blessing, and it's become a yearly tradition of mine and my nan's for me to help her put up all her Christmas decorations, which usually takes 3 hours, but today it took 4, which is not too much longer than normal, so I'm happy about that because I was really poorly. So it only took an extra hour, and it was good for me to keep busy all day because I am so ill. It's nice to have something to take my mind off being ill. I feel absolutely shattered, and it's about 6 p.m. now, which is usually the time I end up breaking my fast, because that's the time my first real hunger cues start kicking in. But I'm going to stay strong and fight it. I'm going to a recovery meeting online at 7 p.m, which is in about an hour. That will be a NA meeting, Narcotics Anonymous, or a Smart Recovery meeting, which is non-religion based and complete opposite of the 12-step program. But I find the 2 programs together is working out really well for me, because the things I like about one and dislike about the other work very well together. So I'm looking forward to having that meeting, and I hope it takes my mind off of being hungry and in pain, but also I know it will keep me focused on my goals and remind me why I'm staying clean, and that I can do this, and that all this pain's worth it. And despite how sick I am and how much pain I am in, if I use, I will just be passing that pain to everybody else. All of my loved ones who would worry about me senseless and risk dying, which would just break my family. So despite the pain that I am in, I'm doing this for my family and my loved ones, because heroin would take it all away from me, but it would just pass the pain on to them. So by not using heroin or any other drugs and water fasting, completely abstaining from food and any drinks other than water, I will be dealing with the pain myself but at least it won't be hurting anybody else that I care about, because one of the main reasons why I've had to quit, and I hate the thought of hurting my loved ones, and I hate knowing that I have hurt them through my relapse and addiction over the years. I'm planning to go to another Narcotics Anonymous meeting, especially as they are in person, but it's just about finding one that's on close enough to my area that I can make it to. The one that I went to the other day is right by my house. I'd say it's less than 100 feet away from my house, so I have no excuse not to go, but I'd really like to be going to more than one a week, and if I can get there, then I'm going to go. I spoke to my mum and dad today a little bit about my addiction. They said we would have a proper chat tomorrow, but I managed to open up a little bit to my mum about the heroin and the fact that I have been using heroin and that it was just for pain. And I was honest and said that I had never stopped using it. I was never really off it. I always used it 3 or 4 times a year for my severe pain, to just have a day off of being sick. It felt good to be honest with my mum about that. And I know they'll be more worried in some ways once they know how much I've been using and how I was using, etc., because I was injecting. But I think in other ways it would make their worry a lot less, because I know that as soon as someone hears, oh, so-and-so's on heroin, everyone's thinking the worst, thinking they must be prostituting themselves, they must have no gas, electric or food, they must have lost everything or be stealing from people, and it's really not like that at all, especially in my case. So it would be nice to take some of the worry off their shoulders and tell them that I haven't been using it every day, that I had only been using it for pain until the last 3 months, which was when I started using it for mental pain, which is why it became a problem and why it became out of control. I'd like to be honest with them about it in the way that I don't want to be one of those addicts that is constantly in and out of recovery, that has gone to 12 steps 50 times. I don't want that to be me. So I need to get on top of it. I was really uncooperative at the start when I found out my parents knew about my heroin use. But to be honest, I'm glad they know now, because I can talk to them about it and I don't have to fight it all on my own. I just hope that they stick to what they've said, that I can be honest with them and that they can be there for me without being angry and arguing, because they've said they'll be there for my mental health before, but then when I actually tell them that I'm in an episode or that I'm hearing voices and psychotic, they kind of belittle my symptoms and can be really not very helpful. So I just hope that doesn't happen with this. I'm hoping that our chat tomorrow will clear the air and hopefully it won't feel so atmospheric at my parents' house. I did buy some morphine today, but I'm planning to use that as my emergency pain go-to instead of heroin. I bought it off someone who gets it prescribed from a doctor, so it's medical grade. And I know obviously it's bad to buy any drugs used for pain that aren't prescribed by your doctor, but there's no way they would give me morphine because of my age and because fibromyalgia is invisible and someone technically could fake it. So I feel I had to buy some kind of pain medication to self-medicate with, but I'm thinking about just giving it to my mum to look after so that I can take it when I absolutely need it, but she can look after it so I can't get drunk and overdose. I can't just drink all of it. And I think that would be helpful for me, and it would probably build up some more trust between me and my mum, because I'd be letting her know, hey look, I am on drugs sometimes, but I can let you manage it. My parents said they want to be more involved in my life and my daily life, in just planning what I have on for that day, planning when my doctor's appointments are, when my mental health appointments is, drug recovery, meetings, where I'm going, what's being done about my health problems and what's being done with my medical situation, in all of my medical problems, not just mental but physical health as well. And they said we're going to sit down tomorrow and make a plan. So I hope it goes well, and I hope I can live up to their expectations, and I hope they can live up to mine. I'm really, really lucky to have a family like mine, but it gets very overbearing and hard too. I can't believe it's day 19. I will start counting back from my relapse eventually by having maybe a week break from posting videos and just waiting until it is day 19 completely sober. So it might be a week till I post my next video, but I'm going to continue with this video diary and hopefully do some different video topics, since my addiction is reaching the end of the temperamental emergency first stage, which is being in that all or nothing sense of it could go really wrong really quickly and there's nothing sort of holding that together. apart from my willpower, which can be very temperamental. And the mental cravings are going away now for the heroin, which is really good, because when I first quit, I'm always thinking, shit, what happens if my pain's bad? What happens if I need it again? I need to have that emergency stash. And now I don't feel like that. It's going away. So I am getting better, and the addiction is in the process of healing. I'm healing. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much for checking out my channel. I will check in a little bit. It is day 13 completely clean and day 21 of my recovery journey. I'm super proud to be here. I can't believe it's been 13 days since I've used a tool and 21 days of doing these videos. I do apologise for not checking in every day. I felt like the last few days I was doing well, so didn't yet feel the need to check in. I'm going to count this journey from day 13 now, as my days since my relapse have sort of caught up with days of my recovery journey as a whole on YouTube. So this is day 13, and I can't wait to see how far I can take this and see how long I can go. My stomach's been horrendous this last week or so. The bleeding has stopped since I've been fasting, but I hadn't managed to stick to the fast completely until today. So this is going to be day 1 of my water fast, and I think I'm going to do a separate set of videos to document it, as there's not a whole load of people documenting extended long fasts on YouTube, and I want to see if I can help anybody by doing that, and it would give me accountability, so I'd have to stick to it. So hopefully I'd be more likely to stick to it. I am worried that the fasting won't heal my stomach, because my pain is so bad that there's really no other option than to use heroin. So I have to stick to this fast. It has to work. And if this fast does work, say 30, 40 days even, and my stomach is healed, I can hopefully live off my 4 to 6 shakes and then a bit of regular food as well. That's the ideal result from this scenario. But if it doesn't go well and my stomach's still really bad after fasting for 30 or 40 days, then I'll be malnourished enough to end up on tube feed. And I know almost for a fact that if I was put on tube feed and didn't have to eat at all, my pain would go away, because my pain's caused by the fact that my intestines aren't digesting food properly. So either way, if I stick to this fast for 30-40 days, it will work. It will either fix my health and stop the pain that way, or it will make me ill enough to need tube feed and not need to be in pain from eating. So I really hope I can stick to it, and I hope it doesn't make me too poorly. The pain is going down, but it's still very, very bad. My last fast I stuck to for 5 days, and my pain was completely gone by day 3, but I wasn't as sick as I am now. So I'm hoping the pain will go away in 4 or 5 days, and I'll be able to test my willpower over those 30-40 days and hopefully fix my health problems. The business idea that I had that I wanted to start sort of the last few years, but I've been too sick to, I found a cheap wholesale seller of the materials that I need to make my products. I wasn't expecting it to even turn up. I was just ordering it to see if it was possible to buy this material as cheap as it was advertised on the wholesale site, because I need to keep my production costs low if I want to be able to sell my products at an affordable price to customers. This really gave me hope and made me so motivated to keep fighting to get my business up and running, because I know it's a good idea, and as soon as it's up and running professionally, then I can tell you all what it is, but I don't want to advertise it until I can keep up with the demand. So that's something for me to work on over these next few weeks during fasting, where I will have a lot more time on my hands from not eating, and hopefully won't be in pain after the first few days, so maybe I could be more productive with my day. I've been attending smart recovery meetings every single night on Zoom, and I've been doing the NARCOTICS ANONYMOUS meetings every afternoon, which is my morning, because I've not been able to get up before midday for a long time. But today I started one at midday until 1:30 p.m, 90-minute meeting, and the one that was on in my area online wasn't on for another 2 hours, and I just felt I couldn't wait that long. I needed to talk to somebody about my cravings and my struggles, especially with all the pain that I'm in. So I went on one that was made for a different area than the one I live in, but I found this group so much more helpful and so much more relatable than my other ones, as there was people on there with chronic pain and health conditions like mine that used heroin for their pain. So hopefully I could connect with them and have someone else to talk to that's going through this, rather than someone else who was using it for mental pain, because I've still yet to find somebody that has chronic pain and uses heroin for that. And everyone on that group was a lot more positive, and they all played music. So we hung around at the end of the group session and played music and had a jam session on Zoom. So that was super fun, really cool. I met some really interesting people, and I hope to get to know them more, and can't wait to see where this group takes me in terms of my recovery. I have been keeping my evenings reserved for the SMART recovery meetings as opposed to the Narcotics Anonymous, as the SMART recovery is not based on religious principles or setting your future only in complete abstinence from all drugs and alcohol, which is just not socially viable for me. It's not realistic, and I can have a couple drinks and not go stupid. I just have to not drink when I'm depressed. I don't want to be that family member that can't go to any kind of social events, can't go into a pub for a lunch with family without getting off their face. That's not me. And I want to be able to go and enjoy a few drinks, or go out for a meal with friends, or go to a work party if I ever end up working normally again. The SMART recovery meetings are very helpful for that, because they give you real tools to put in place, and it's not based on how many days you've been clean. Their success is measured more in terms of, I've used X many times in this amount of years or months, and that's much better for me in the long run, as I'm sure I will slip up here and there. But for the purpose of the Narcotics Anonymous meetings, I'm going to count my recovery from my slip-up, which was on day 8. So making day 8 day 1, it is now day 13, and I would have been clean for 2 whole weeks from tomorrow. So I'm so excited for that. And I actually stuck to my fast today, and I'm really proud of that, because it's about 7 p.m. now, and that is the sort of time that I always get too hungry and just end up eating. But I've actually stuck to it today, so I'm super proud of that. And I just hope that the doctors can help me, or that this fast fixes my health problems. And I am pinning a lot of hopes on it, because it's the only thing I have left to hope on. Christmas is less than 2 weeks away, so I'm super stressed about that, but I'm also excited because I know it'll be a nice day, and it's just nice that my family don't have to worry about me being high. I am back at my parents' house, and I have decided to detox here with the fasting, at least for the first week or so, but I might just stay here until Christmas, because I have people around me that aren't using, that are proud of me in the daytime here. And it's easier in that sense because there's no temptation, but I also need my space, and I need to be able to live and function at my house on my own without wanting to use drugs every time I'm alone, or I'm never going to be able to live independently as an adult, and I've really struggled with that since becoming disabled. An interesting thing happened yesterday. I found £70 in my old bedroom that I'd stashed away about a year or 2 ago, so that's obviously a lot of money, and you can buy a lot of heroin with that. But the drugs only came into my mind for just a split second. It wasn't a case of, oh, I could get all this drugs with that. It was more, oh, that's how much this costs. And then my mind went straight to, oh, I could buy loads of Christmas presents with that. That can go towards electric because I'm running out, or that can go towards Christmas presents because I enjoy spending a lot of money on Christmas presents, but where I'd relapsed on the drugs, I just didn't have the money this year, so that will massively help. I'm going to try and make videos more often, as I haven't been checking in the last few days, but I'm doing really good, and my mental health's gone back to normal now, and I don't feel so depressed. I just need to keep trying, and I will try and make more positive videos, more informative, so that I can help others, because that was the point of making this channel for me. I want to be able to help people that can't ask for help professionally or elsewhere. Thank you so much for checking out my channel. Like and subscribe for more, and thank you so much for being part of my journey.